Some people get every test done, take vitamins, and watch their health, yet they live shorter lives. And then there are those who do almost none of that, yet their bodies age much slower. The difference between them isn't medical. The difference is in the mind. Imagine two people. The first one looks after their health. They eat well, take vitamins, and get regular checkups, but they live in constant anxiety. And then there's another person who doesn't buy expensive supplements or get dozens of tests, but they know how to calm their mind. Which of them will live longer? Science already has the answer to this question. Today, we'll talk about why our psychological state, meaning our mental and emotional well-being, in a direct way affects longevity, and why sometimes taking care of our minds and focusing on mental health can actually extend life even more than medicine. My name is Valentina Lipskaya. I'm a clinical psychologist, and I began studying the mind's influence on health not from textbooks, but from personal experience. When I worked in a corporate environment in the oil and gas industry, I started having panic attacks. It was very strange. My body reacted as if a catastrophe was happening. My heart would race, my head would spin, and I'd feel like I was going to pass out. Sometimes it happened right at work, during meetings. And the scariest part wasn't the symptoms. The scariest part was that doctors kept telling me, "You're perfectly fine." All the tests were normal. Physically, I really was completely fine. There was absolutely nothing wrong with me, but my body reacted as if I were in mortal danger. And that's when I began to deeply study how the mind affects the body. That's when I realized one important thing. Our brain can either destroy our health or extend our life. Imagine a situation. Your brain thinks you're running away from a tiger. But there is no tiger. There are only deadlines, a mortgage, and messaging in apps. But for the brain, it's almost the same thing. It triggers an ancient survival mechanism. Stress hormones are released into the blood. Cortisol, adrenaline, noradrenaline. In the short term, this is actually useful. It helps us react quickly and make decisions. But the problem with the modern world is that the stress never ends. We worry about work, about the news, about money, and about relationships. And the body begins to live in a state of chronic stress. Research by American psychologists shows that prolonged stress is linked to an increased risk of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, weakened immunity, and depression. But there is an even more interesting study. Scientists from Harvard have studied telomeres. Telomeres are the protective ends of our chromosomes. They are directly linked to cellular aging. And it turned out that in people with chronic stress, telomeres are shorter. This means that cells age faster. In other words, stress literally accelerates the aging of the body. In cognitive behavioral therapy, there is a simple model: thoughts, emotions, physiology, behavior. Our brain does not react to events, it reacts to the interpretation of events. Imagine a situation. Your boss didn't reply to your message. One person thinks he's just busy. Another thinks, I did something wrong. The situation is the same, but the body's reaction will be completely different. The first person remains calm, while the second one's anxiety is triggered. The body switches into threat mode. This causes muscle tension, sleep problems, inflammatory processes, and chronic fatigue. Cognitive behavioral therapy research shows that changing one's mindset can reduce anxiety levels and improve the body's physical state. That's why in clinical psychology we often say health begins with the mindset. Many people underestimate psychosomatics. And it's important to say right away, this doesn't mean all illnesses are from nerves, but the psyche can amplify and trigger many symptoms. For example, headaches, stomach pains, irritable bowel syndrome, chronic fatigue, bruxism, grinding of teeth. The organism begins to speak through the body. The body becomes the language of the psyche. When a person suppresses emotions for a long time, when they suppress fear, anxiety, anger, internal conflicts, the body takes on this burden and symptoms become a way of release. The most amazing thing is that the most effective things for health cost almost nothing. There are 3 things that are proven to work. Reducing chronic stress. According to the World Health Organization, stress management reduces the risk of cardiovascular disease. This can be done through breathing practices, mindset work, meditation, and psychotherapy. Second is movement. Physical activity reduces levels of anxiety and depression. Exercise works as a natural antidepressant. And third, emotional resilience. People who can regulate their emotions live longer. This is shown by research in the psychology of longevity. We live in a world of constant overload, information, social media, news, work. Our nervous system wasn't designed for this level of stimulation. So mental health care today is no longer a luxury, it's a condition for survival. People who can manage anxiety, restore their nervous system, and work with their thoughts don't just live longer, they live better. When I started working with people, I noticed one recurring problem. Even if a person sees a specialist, between sessions, they're left alone with their thoughts. Anxiety hits at night or at work or during a difficult conversation, and there might not be anyone around to talk it through with. That's why we created Dzeny, not as a replacement for a psychologist, but as a support space between sessions. Here you can start a dialogue when it's truly needed. If this format of support resonates with you, the link to the app is in the description. Download the Dzeny app, developed by clinical psychologists, and get psychological help 24/7 anywhere in the world. Sometimes this alone is enough to reduce tension, calm the mind a bit, and extend your life. When the mind becomes calmer, the body begins to recover, sleep improves, energy appears, and internal tension decreases. And sometimes this is exactly where taking care of your health begins. Remember those 2 people from the beginning of our video? One monitored their tests, the other their mental state. It's the second one who usually lives longer. If you want to live a long and healthy life, don't start with pills, start with the mind, because the body and brain are one system. And when we take care of our mental health, we automatically take care of our health.